just because we also have some folks waiting on YouTube and I would like to get started. So, thank you everybody for coming out today to celebrate Leela's chapbook. We're super excited to have it out into the world. It's an absolutely gorgeous collection that you should totally get your hands on if you have not already. And then, yeah, basically, we are gonna like maybe hang out here for another like minute or so while people trickle in. I'm going to throw some links in the chat to purchase copies of the chapbook that we are here to celebrate today. And then I usually kick off each reading with a piece just so no one has to like go first. And then I will turn it over to Leela. And also, just a note that if you're watching with us on YouTube, all of these links that I just put in the chat are going to be in the video description. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started reading. I'm just gonna read one piece that is kind of in the same sort of thematic universe, I feel like, as the work that we're here to celebrate today. This is a piece called We Have Been Trying to Reach You About Your Body's Extended Warranty, and as such has a content warning for body horror and disability. Welcome to my twisted ankles, which tear tendons from my heels and stretch my calves lute-string tight, flexed feet scraping cracked skin against silk sheets in vain efforts to mitigate my muscle tension. I'd suspect I was born to be the boneless girl I dragged through Adobe flash bubbles in 5th grade study hall, were it not for the fact that sometimes cracking my neck makes me sick in a way that butter or cream never could. I could walk on rose petals for eternity to sate high-maintenance hammer toes, and my wrists would still both beg, snap me before the swelling bursts open, bitch. Don't you feel the shifts in your crooked bones, your jaw piercing your chin as your teeth abscess? I've so exceeded expectations of normal wear and tear that I can't help but aspire to splinter as a spruce would, pinprick gnarls in the heels of enemies. Right. Leela, you can feel free to take it away.
Yeah. Thank you so much again to Nat and Festival Press for making the book happen. And I'm super excited for it to be out in the world. So the first poem that I'm starting with is called Ghost Town's Lament. And just like that, it was over. The locusts fled to the mountains at dawn, black clouds so thick you could taste them. We stumbled out of our houses like astronauts still getting used to gravity, hair dripping and lye burning the backs of our throats, grimy clothes clinging to us as if they were stitched to our skin. For years the fields withered. For years we knelt in the wavering yellow grasses and dug the weeds out with our fingernails until the soil turned crimson with our blood. For years I remained the spitting image of my mother, choreomaniac on the corner dancing myself to the guillotine. Violence is only easy when you've got someone to blame, Lady Luck never quite managing to roll the dice in our favor. I couldn't forgive myself for the drought, for the murky river that drained to a trickle, for the cars that never slowed when they saw us, only rolled the windows down and drove faster to escape the smell. Violence is only easy when you can play it off as tenderness. I never could figure out which god would allow this, but I cursed them anyway. For the morning spent waking to the sound of insect wings beating against the shell of my ear, the sky's constant threat to drown us. For years we watched every calf go limp and glassy-eyed in the dirt, watched my blisters burst on the pavement as I spun, watched the parade of our failure stretch on and on and on, until just like that, it was over. The river flooded the streets once again. We waded to the crumbling schoolhouse in brackish water up to our ankles, poured sludge from the broken windows with leaking buckets. Silence closed its hands around our neck, the tip of a newly sharpened blade. No one rejoiced. No one looked each other in the eye. Finally, the curse was lifted. Finally, we were free to put down our misery. Instead, we shouldered our shovels and dug the grave a little deeper. Instead, we gathered our gasoline and set fire to every crop circle. Instead, I raised my skirts and stamped my feet in the mud. Better the devil, you know. Better to sate our hunger with those rotten crusts of bread than to rely on the plants to fruit. Better to lose myself in rhythmless destruction than to let go of the grudge I had cradled to my chest for so long. Finally, the curse was lifted. Finally, we were free, but no one knew what to do with their hands without cuffs weighing them down. It was over. Lady Luck had won, tossed her dice one last desperate time. Still, we clutched our hopelessness like a favorite blanket in the night. Still, I couldn't forgive myself for the frantic motion of my legs on and on and on to oblivion. Still, we longed for something to blame. The locusts, the drought, the mountain of red dust. Something to satisfy the ever-tightening noose of our anger, our perpetually bared teeth, the vicious crunch of the bat as it made contact with bone. Something to prolong our sorrow, convince us that suffering meant that every bruise would one day be forgiven, but just like that, it was over. Lady Luck burned the sun into our dizzy retinas, the getaway car skidded into a ditch. By the next morning, every house in town flew a ragged white flag at half-mast. The next one is actually not in the chapbook, but it was published in Zero Readers last year, and it's called Featherweight Champion of the Year. I bruise at loud noises. The skin around my nails is an ugly, vicious purple. It takes only the slightest breeze to send me stumbling. When I raise my wrist, my lips, my pulse leaks out and settles sticky between my front teeth. I'm less worried about decay than I am about the silence that accompanies it. The spaces my body doesn't quite take up, so quiet that you can hear my muscles turning to dust. My body and I spend all our time together. We know each other well, but not well enough to make each other happy. I don't have enough energy to be angry, though. Sinew isn't something to be afraid of. We all have bigger fish to fry, like calling the doctor's office, filling out patient questionnaires, walking across the room, finding a glass of water so I can take my medicine. My body and I spend all our time together, and yet we don't know how to take care of each other. My body's sick, so my mind is sick, so I'm sick. The distinction matters, but when you're trying to place the blame. I'm sick, and maybe I will be forever until one day I die, and I don't think that scares me as much as it should. Permanent impermanence. My tongue sticking to the roof of my mouth. Today, I fell down the stairs again. Today, I drank water, even though it was only just enough to keep me alive and not much more. In the sickbed, curled together and shivering, my body and I have entire conversations in our language of static. The empty glasses sit on the bedside table for days, abandoned. The next two are from the chapbook, and they're called Dust Storms 1 and 2. Don't run away. Not yet. I promise I'm trying, even with my mouth full of dirt. Please, come in. Sit down. I'll get you something to drink. How have you been? I'm doing something useful with my hands these days. No, not as useful as you might think. I've been keeping careful note of all the progress I've made, just to show you how you have become the knife I hold to my own throat. No, that's not it. Let me rephrase. In my memory, you were always made of something tender, the sort of tenderness that burrows its way into your bone marrow. No, that's not quite right either. In my memory, I am nothing more than a small flame. Together we watch twin trains race past your window, all the blood rushing to my head. Don't run away. Not yet. I don't know how to explain the genesis of a wound without breaking open the stitches. Outside, the wind howls, knocking down every tree in its path. The house rattles with the force of it. My tongue lies limp on the kitchen table, next to your flat soda. How can I say any of this out loud? Please, don't run away. Not yet. I'm trying to find my way back to the beginning of the maze. I'm trying to solve the mystery of my own neurons. Outside, the wind howls. Maybe this time the disaster will feel less like the sound of glass shattering and more like coming home. And this is Dust Storm 2. The signs all say, pull aside, stay alive. You dig your nails into the steering wheel. Don't let go. Not yet. I'm trying to figure out how to say goodbye without letting the car veer into traffic. In my memory, your hazards send shadows spinning wildly over the concrete, paint your face in hazy oranges and reds. But I don't want to say that. Not now. In my memory, you plan your life as if when you die, you'll be burned where you stand. How could you want to be scattered in the Pacific when you're a creature of the Sonora? The twin trains we watched were racing to their doom. The window panes squeak. The wind howls, screams, shouts, shrieks. I don't know enough adjectives to describe the sound. How can I say any of this out loud? Instead, I make a halo for my fingers and hold it above the crown of your head. See, I'm learning. I'm making progress. Don't let go. Not yet. I want to hear you breathe for one more minute. We all end up in a grave someday, but which god wants to tell you when and ruin the suspense? In my memory, I am nothing more than a dead girl. The sky cries out your name, my name, our names. The final song of aching. You take your foot off the brink. This next one is also not from the chapbook. It was published in Full House Literary in 2022, and it's called Rate Your Pain on a Scale 1 to 10. 1. Some screw coming loose, knee clicking. Good day, bad day, somewhere in between. I don't understand the distinction, Doc. Nothing hurts if I don't think about it. I'm fantastic, Doc. Hell, I think I could walk a mile right now if I tried. Okay, maybe not a mile, but a city block. Definitely a block or two. Look, Ma, no limp, no knee braces, no leaning on someone's arm. Just tell me how much pain is normal, Doc. I know you know. How could you not when you've written 6 separate papers on the subject? Yesterday, my ankle was swollen, but not enough to be concerning, so I won't waste your time with it. Yes, I've had my 80 ounces of water. Yes, I've said my non-emergency emergency affirmations into the mirror. Pay attention, Space Cadet, ground control to Major Tom. Oh, what's that? I've taken up half my time already? Shame, we haven't even gotten to the best part yet, which is, of course, that I haven't slept in 2 days. Maybe that's why I sound like this. I have some level of self-awareness, you know. Not enough to stop making those gallows humor jokes everyone cringes at, but you've got to cut me some slack, Doc. I've already fought half the battle, haven't I? I'm up. I'm out of bed. Cue the band. I've done my physical therapy. I'm kicking my connective tissue's ass. Oh, right. I'm not supposed to say that anymore. My body isn't my enemy. I forgot. Sorry, Doc. It's been such a long week. My dad always tells me to inflate these ratings a little, you know. Every time we're in a hospital waiting room, he tells me that one story about how when my grandfather had a stroke, he told the doctors he didn't have a headache after. Remember when I said I was fantastic? Fine. I'll admit that I lied. My mom asked me to take the stairs, so it's sharp pressure in hips, knees, ankles for the past 72 hours. Wait. Hang on. Sharp pressure? Is that how I'm supposed to describe it? None of these words make any sense to me. Mostly, Doc, I just want to breathe. 10 minutes without pain. A moment where I don't feel like I'm on fire. A morning when I wake up and the sky isn't falling on top of me. The next one is called Groundhog Day. And this is how it goes. That slasher film summer when the heat waves broke every record, laughing sick to our stomachs and stealing sips of beer from our cousins' green-tinted bottles, when all we did was sit in a stupor on the front porch, watching people come and go and come and go while sweat soaked through the straps of my blouse. That summer when everything was so delicately knife-edged balanced that I couldn't outrun the fear of making the wrong move. So I convinced myself it was all hopeless, that there was no forward, no way back, no way through. It was summer, so we were supposed to be having the time of our lives. Not weeping with our mouths stuffed full of freezer-burned ice cream, not mumbling, God, I don't know what I want. Please don't make me choose over and over like he could hear us, and this is how it goes. That syrup-sweet summer when it took all my brain power to memorize that fleeting moment. The sour lemonade and glare off the yellow streetlights. That summer when it took every bit of my courage just to beg. Come on, say yes. Let's take the bus 3 stops past nowhere just one last time. Say yes because all of this will be gone tomorrow. Say yes because I'm scared of the future and I need you. It was summer, so anything was possible, but I didn't care. I was busy counting our remaining daylight hours, busy trying to calm my nerves, busy, my mind going 90 miles an hour down the freeway with the windows down and superheated Santa Ana winds in my face, and this is how it goes. That god-awful summer spent with your sticky hand on my thigh, repeating, it'll all work out. Stop moving. Stay still, calm down, but don't you see, I can't? Don't you see how this fear has made me feel like a fly forever trapped in anger? Don't you see how my palms have blistered under the pressure? How I need you to sit beside me as life, as we know it, crumbles and rebuilds itself and crumbles again? How I need you to tell me that you believe in me, that one of these days I'll make my peace with change, and that even then you'll be here to relive the summer of our discontent, again and again and again and again. And the next one is called Dead Man's Float. The way you tell it, I'm afraid of everything. Our saltwater crested hair, these antifreeze lights reflecting off the bottom of the pool. Chlorine drips beads down the back of my neck, and I wake with freezer burn on my tongue, still running from my dreams with bricks bound to my ankles. The way you tell it, our brown skin glimmering in the dark, is our only superpower. Lest these hands grow bigger than they're allowed, lest I find myself desperately calling pill dust from the back of my throat on one more Tuesday morning. Midsummer, and we're half blind again, small and struggling and inconsolable on the concrete. Not girl saints fluttering in ecstasy, but almost wrecked bodies trying to keep their heads above water. The way you tell it, I'm shivering in the back seat of a Honda Civic, holding something that doesn't exist in the chamber of my mouth. You're itching at the bandages around your wrists, the burned wounds, the skinned knee off the diving board. Close your eyes, and the decaying lasts forever. Close your eyes, and every shadow is a bug's body, every tree filled with cicadas and screaming in the night. The way you tell it. Nearly shrinking, nearly soaring, nearly a word that doesn't spill out of my mouth, just sits hot and heavy behind my front teeth. The way you tell it. Haunted on an empty park bench, hunched over like an ape, hands shaking and flinching at even the slightest noise. The way you tell it. This fear, this cord around my throat, finally pulling tight. These days when anything deeper than the shallow end was too much to handle. And this one is called Hydrangea. Oh God, I am sick of my sorrow. Sick of knowing myself as only a lamb to the slaughter, making the same forgivable, unforgivable mistakes over and over. Desperation makes a home inside of you, and all the dead places where nothing else will grow. Seems I've held a million seedlings that all refuse to sprout. Nothing blossoms the same way it used to. Everything heavier in the space it doesn't take up. Heat rises off the blacktop and twines itself into my hair. I'm still alive enough to know that I am vanishing. The executioner lives only a block down the street, each misery drawing me ever closer. Oh God, oh God, I am sick of my sorrow, sick of my own compliance. My vice is not violent enough to make a dent. Oh God, oh God, I am sick of my sorrow, weary from walking. I'm too scared to ask for much, so I'm asking for a song. Just once more before the reckoning sets me ablaze. And this is called Nosebleed Seats. For weeks on end, I wake at 6 in the evening, a jackhammer pounding incessantly in my brain and mascara smeared across my eyelids. Don't worry about me, though. I've become very good at pretending I won't spend the rest of my life searching behind soup cans in the drugstore for a memory I'm forever convinced is just around the corner. Besides, everything's still exactly the same way we left it. The sky is still the same hematoma purple as the bruises on my left hip, a map to some obsolescent playground where we hung dizzy off the merry-go-round. For weeks on end, I wake with sweat soaking the sheets, convinced you've been hibernating in the back of my closet for the past 20 years. Sorry, I must have mistaken the clock ticking for a heartbeat. Sorry, I must have mistaken our soft-in-the-middle bodies for those once glittering machines we dragged, laughing and stumbling up, to the top of that stadium, even though neither of us gave a shit about baseball. Burying my hand in the back of your faded t-shirt to keep you from pitching down the stairs again while you wax poetic about... What? What was it again? Sorry, it's on the tip of my tongue, but you must understand. Forgetting is an expensive hobby. Retracing every step. Putting together a puzzle where every piece is backwards or worn out or gone entirely, back to the rusty playground with my fingers tight around the chain-link fence. Was that here where I begged you not to say it out loud, or was that just a dream? Did I carry you home from that godforsaken stadium, or did you carry me? When the phone rings over and over in the night, I'm sure that the call is coming from inside the house. Reverse fracture. Glistening saliva on my bottom lip. I'm trying to get it together, I promise, but all I can think of is that terrible summer, how Elias felt like they were finally going somewhere, like all those years of spite were paying off with momentum. Pink noise, heat exhaustion, everything distorted and backwards through a dirty mirror. To tell you the truth, I don't think I've ever been more terrified in my life. And the last one is called Second Generation Anti-Love Letter. April brings 100-degree spring, so I read in the yard. A book of love poems you gave me for my birthday last year, written during some rainless June I'm not old enough to remember. I didn't open it for months because I don't like looking gift horses in the mouth, and somehow I knew you'd say something I wouldn't want to hear, like, inscribe, "Sweetheart, don't prolong your dry spell," on the inside cover. Like, tell me I live in the desert, and so it's stupid to say I need rain. Look, baby, you told me not to sugarcoat, so in all honesty, I think the book is awful. I think if I just said "Tume kanakaya" and brought you coffee in the mornings, it'd be more romantic than every one of those poems combined, but okay, fine. I'll be your rom-com lover. I'll be brown John Cusack with a boombox during the monsoons, wailing my heart out beneath your second-floor bedroom. Look, baby, you told me to be honest, so I'll scratch out your note. I'll write "Love doesn't exist" on the inside cover and instead turn into a man so cynical that he writes about a never-ending drought instead of his lover's hands. You say you'll name the sun for me, and I think, in which language? In which season? April turns my head fuzzy, so I tell you to lie in the grass with me. Ingiva, my throat is so dry. What I am trying to say is I love you, but I can't call you Medijan. What I am trying to say is you should open your windows so you can hear me singing from 10 miles away. What I'm trying to say is that you should drive back down when the storm ends so we can eat gulab jamun together and try again and again and again. What I'm trying to say is that the Tamil word for rain is Malay, and I know I live in the desert, but I need you to repeat it back to me over and over and over. Say absolution, say starvation, say you'll be the water to my endless thirst. And this time you'll play Meg Ryan and we'll kiss all weekend even though we're both drenched in sweat. Compliment the damp hair on the back of my neck, my soaked shirt, my thighs sticking to the deck chair. The way you're rooted in only one hemisphere. My love, Meribia. What I'm trying to say is come back to me when the asphalt season ends. What I am trying to say is, I need you to learn to pronounce my name. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you again to Nat and Fifth Wheel Press for everything.
Oh my God, thank you, Leela. That was amazing. It really was like such a treat to hear you read those out loud. I feel like it always is, but that was just super special. I had also read Featherweight Champion of the Year like a while ago, and I was also super happy to see that make its way in, TBH. Um, yeah, thank you to everybody for coming out. Links to purchase the chapbook in both PDF and print are in the chat, and stay tuned for the next reading.